Okay, get out your today's circle practice number one, equations of circles practice number one. I've already filled out some stuff. Near the top, not where your name is, but just near the top, you should put this equation down that we put into our notes. And now we're going to basically use this equation throughout this entire worksheet here. In parentheses, x minus h. H is the center squared. Squaring it starts to form the circle, plus y minus k, the center squared, is equal to the radius squared. And we talked about this as the equation of a circle in the other video. So number one here, what is the definition of a circle? Well, here's the technical definition. I mean, most people think a circle is just a big round thing, but technically it is a set of points, all the same distance, that same distance being the radius, from the center. So if you have a center point, and I'm 2 inches from it, it's all the other points that are 2 inches from that. But there's so many points that it starts to make a solid figure, and that is the definition of a circle. Just a set of points from the center, the same distance from the center being the radius. Okay, this formula, this big formula that we're going to use today, this x minus the center squared plus y minus the center squared is equal to r squared. This is basically similar to Pythagorean theorem, a squared plus b squared is equal to c squared. Now you can see this picture here to the right of a circle. This equation derives, here's the centerpiece, h and k, here's a point on the circle, x and y, and then this distance here is r. Basically, the equation of a circle comes from the fact that there is a right triangle here, a squared, b squared, r squared. Or you can look at this as the distance of a line. We hadn't seen this formula in a long time, but distance formula is between 2 points, this point and this point, it would be x2 minus x1 squared plus y2 minus y1 squared. Well, that is essentially what's going on with the equation of a circle here in green. You have 2 points, one point being the center and one point being on the outside. You subtract the distance and the center and square it, subtract a point from the center and square it, and you get the radius squared. And that is how the distance formula works. All right, and that is basically problems 1 and 2. And we're going to now move on to number 3. Okay, this is how you do section 3 here. It says determine the center and the radius of the given circle. Anytime you have a circle, there's basically two main things you need to worry about. Where is the center? And then how big is this radius number? If you're given the equation like number 3a, you can figure out what the center is. It has to deal with this 7 and this 10 here. Now the equation already says that the center is negative h, negative k. So if you already have a negative there, the center is actually positive 7. And then all of a sudden, it's positive 10. The center is not positive 10. It is actually negative 10. Because if you put a negative 10 right here by this already a negative in the equation, it turns it into this positive 10. So the center is actually positive 7, negative 10. The radius number is back here in red. It is not 81. That represents r squared. So if r squared is 81, then r by itself is 9. So the radius is 9. The center is 7, negative 10, and then the radius is 9. So go ahead and finish up 3, and then I will finish up with number 4. Okay, now I'm going to go into part 4 here. Write the equation. So we're going to write an equation like this. Given the picture of a circle here, there's 2 circles in each problem here. Here is, this big one is circle A. The small one here is circle B here. So we're going to do circle A, the big one. Write the equation of the big circle. And so it will be similar to this blue box here, this equation that we've been using the entire time. We were going to say x minus the centerpiece. Well, this center right here is 0, 0. So it's going to be x minus 0 squared plus y, the center is 0 squared, is equal to the radius. Now the radius would be from the center out there. Now this graph paper might be hard to see, but it is actually 10 spaces. So we'll go 10 squared. And that is for part A. I'm going to continue with part B here on 4A. This smaller circle here, the equation is going to be x minus the center. You got to look at the center here. You might have to zoom in, but this center is positive 4 comma negative 2. So that's where the center is. So it's going to be x minus 4 squared plus y minus a negative 2. Minusing a negative would make that a positive 2 squared is equal to the radius. You've got to figure out how many spaces is it from here to the edge. And it looks like it's 3 to me. And you would say 3 squared. Okay, finish up this section and I'll start the next section. Okay, we are going to do section 5 here. This is actually a really easy section. I wrote the equation there in the red box. It says write the equation of a circle given the radius and the centerpiece. So we're going to go with this formula. Always have x and y there. And we'll square it. And all we've got to do is put the centerpiece in there. So it's x minus the centerpiece, which is negative 3. So putting a negative next to a negative, that's a positive 3. Square it, plus y minus the centerpiece, which is 6. So minus 6 squared is equal to the radius squared, 7 squared. And that is it for section 5. So finish that up. And now we're going to go to the last section, section 6 here. We are asked to graph these equations. So we're going to graph 6a here. The equation of a circle is right here in the red box at the top, constantly using the same equation here, and it looks just like 6a here. But what you need to do to graph it is you've got to know what the centerpiece is. So the center is this 3 and this 2. It is going to be positive 3, negative 2. The radius revolves around the 4. The radius is not 4. That is what r squared is equal to. So the radius is actually 2. So now we're going to use this information here to graph the circle. So 6a is going to turn into a circle graph. So first thing we do is graph the center, 3 over, negative 2 down. So there's the center. It has a radius of 2. So from that center, not from 0, 0, from that center, I go 2 over to the right, 2 up, 2 to the left, 2 straight down. And then as best you can, you're going to kind of connect those 4 dots in a roundish fashion. And then that would be your graph with center 3 comma negative 2 and the radius of 2. So go ahead and finish the rest of number 6.